And we're back on Southeast Texas Weekly. Thanks so much for staying with us. We appreciate it. Let's talk about some key issues here with Michael Lindsay with Lindsay and Parsons. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here.
Don Brown, the former Democratic congressional candidate in CD14. Good to see you. And teaming up against W.L. Pate, Republican Beaumont City Councilman. Great to have you.
Hey, great to be here.
Great to have you on the show.
We all got our blue shirts on.
We're all
like
set.
we got the word.
And we hope the unanimity stops right there.
It probably will.
I actually got that word out. Hey. We begin with the Keystone veto. The president, boy, he meant what he said. President Obama, when he had the opportunity to open up a pipeline that would have created, we've heard fantastic numbers, but 40,000 jobs at least, said no to the idea despite environmental reports that say Nebraska would not necessarily be in imminent environmental danger if there were a leak. What is this, in fact, a viable ruling on the part of the president? By ruling, I just mean the veto, yeah.
It is viable. It's temporary. It can still go through the diplomatic and through the State Department.
Is he playing to the base of the environmentalists? What really is in the mind of the president when it comes to, he's staunchly opposed to it. He said he would, and he did.
Are we in Texas?
No, absolutely he is not doing that. The fact is there are also, the jobs that are created would not actually be American jobs, first of all. Second of all, the pipeline actually would only create 14 jobs from some of the things that I've seen.
14 permanent jobs total.
Total permanent jobs would be 14.
Well, here's how disingenuous this is. The tar sands that everybody, this is so bad. Well, you might want to check to see how many rail cars they're hauling it out on that are owned by, let's see, what's his name, Warren Buffett. It costs 30 times more to move that oil in a rail car than it does in pipelines. They're still taking it. They're taking it out of Canada, rolling it in. They're just not adding one more
The flow
pipeline.
of the conversation, I didn't give you a chance to finish up your thoughts there.
Part of the environmental problem is just not the problem in Nebraska, but it's ultimately a filthy product. And I think that the American people are not outraged with this veto, and there's one reason for it. There's a surplus of oil and gas right now, and this is when we really ought to be having a dialogue and a conversation about how to go green with renewables and get off fossil fuels.
I think the thing that we really need to think about, Michael, in the long run is if we've got resources that can fuel America, why do we want to still buy it from Venezuela, Saudi Arabia? We don't need to do that. We can worry about the green energy later, but if we've got something right now that we can use, that's here. And the point I want to make that Don made about the jobs, tell those folks down in Port Arthur that are going to be refining this, if it was that dirty, then we shouldn't be putting it on rail cars and sending it to refineries up north on the northeastern corridor, which is exactly what's happening.
It's funny. You also said we're talking about that would be energy for America, but the product that was created is supposed to go to China, not the United States.
We don't have any evidence that would be exported.
That is the intent. It is the intent.
Well, would it not be the case, though, that if it's not piped to Port Arthur, Nederland, Texas, that it's going to go to Alberta, Canada, and it's still going to go to China?
They've already created a
pipeline.
pipeline.
Not only is it going to go to China, but it's, keep in mind, and I'll say this over and over again, right now, they're putting it on rail cars and rolling it into refineries in the Northeast.
Well, do you dismiss those reports then?
It's rolling in rail cars, and I don't know where it's going. And if you say it's going to the Northeast, it is. But it's a filthy product. We need to get off these fossil fuels.
And you believe that's what the president's veto is all about? Is not even so much about the environmental base, but it's more about saying no to old fuel and yes to the alternative new fuels.
I would hope so.
Actually, it's a protection of the administration's right to actually, it is their responsibility, not Congress's, to set the allowance of that pipeline across an international border.
Quickly, have we done well with the Ukrainian ceasefire situation? admittedly an uneasy peace in the Ukraine at this time. Is Secretary Kerry and the Obama administration doing a good job when it comes to this little squabble with the Russians?
Looking at it from the military,
policy?
Looking at it from the military perspective, Putin is going to roll as long as he can roll. He's
until countered, he will.
He is going to do.
Wield a heavy
look,
axe.
ask those people in Crimea how they're doing. President Obama and John Kerry are working so hard to come up with something. So they say they did a deal with Iran. They don't want to irritate the Russians.
Yeah. Just 30 seconds. We have two bad policy
What we
here.
need to do is actually arm we should honor the commitment that we made to the people of Ukraine.
A hawkish progressive this morning. What do you
Absolutely.
think before we have to go? What do you think?
Bad policy. We need
Bad
to arm
policy.
people, and Putin is not going to stop.
The
He's
Ukraine.
out of control.
Okay. We're back in just moments to talk about, let's talk politics, the emerging hopefuls, and more when we come back. Stay with us.